Watching Gladiator made me a lot less excited for Gladiator 2. It did. So Gladiator is the Ridley Scott movie from 2000 that for some unfathomable reason, maybe it just seemed like a good idea at the time, it won 5 Oscars. It beat Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and Aaron Brockovich. And having rewatched Gladiator, I'm starting to think one of those two should have taken the spot. Wow, it's almost like the Oscars don't really mean anything. For instance, like, alright, here's who's in the movie. We've got Russell Crowe, Joaquin Phoenix, Connie Nielsen, Oliver Reed, Derek Jacobi, Digimon Hansu as well. It's a great cast. I really love Oliver Reed and Derek Jacobi in this. They're very underused. They're incredible and they know what movie they're in. Russell Crowe is Russell Crowe, and he's a Roman general and a Spaniard. That's about he's about as Spanish as Charlton Heston in Touch of Evil. And he won an Oscar for this movie. Oh my god. And when I watched this, I must have been 17 when this came out. When this movie came out, I thought it was absolutely awesome. I think a lot of people did too. Now I'm wondering, now that I'm older and I have an interest in Roman history, I'm just like, this isn't a movie about Rome or even set in Rome. Alright, yes, it's set in Rome. But what I mean is, this movie has a Roman skin on it, and it could have been set anywhere. And the historical stuff is, there's some really inaccurate shit that kind of takes me out of the story. Such a nerd for Roman history stuff that, yeah. So we start off this movie with what promises to be an awesome Roman battle. There's just a problem I have with this battle that promises to be absolutely epic and awesome, and a good way to introduce this movie. Fucking shaky. Imagine I did this review just fucking shaking the camera the whole time. Would you like that? Would you enjoy that? Would you... I didn't enjoy it. I just did it. Imagine just doing battle scenes like that. Spent all this money. Everyone's in costume. You've got the fucking shields. You got the weapons. You got the actors. You got the extras. You've got the environment. You've got absolutely everything ready to go. And motherfuckers are shaking the camera. I don't like it. And here's the plot of the movie. All right. So Marcus Aurelius, he's the emperor. He's the last of the 5 good emperors. He's ruled for 2 decades, and he's dying. And he wants Maximus, not his son Commodus, he wants Maximus to be the emperor, but he also wants Maximus, because he's a good man, to bring back the Republic, the way Rome used to be. And Marcus Aurelius is killed by Commodus, because Commodus is like, fuck you, man, I want to be emperor. And I was out of the story then. Marcus Aurelius had no intention of ever rebuilding the Republic. He ruled for 20 years. Made his son his successor. That's like... Not only that, Commodus was already emperor by the time Marcus Aurelius died. So for the last 3 years of Marcus's life, they were co-emperors. Father and son. So this plot doesn't work already. And it's a plot that could have been set in, like, I don't know, England with the royals and all that kind of stuff. That's not my area of history, like France, all this kind of stuff. And it's amazing to me how this movie feels, because I didn't get this feeling when I watched The Last Duel, also by Ridley Scott, made a couple of years ago though, featuring Jodie Comer, Ben Affleck, Adam Driver, which I thought, and Matt Damon, which I thought was wonderful. So there's 2 Ridley Scotts. You get the guy who did Alien, who did Blade Runner, who did, well, I like The Last Duel. There you go. There's another example. And then you got the guy who makes Gladiator, like American Gangster, things like that. Things that are just overlong and just aren't accurate and don't even try to be accurate. It's not even inaccurate in the kind of way that Bohemian Rhapsody is. That movie is not trying to be 100% accurate. It's just trying to cram a lot of history of Freddie and Queen into a 2.5 hour movie. It's not a miniseries where you can do things like in order and stuff. So it truncates characters and plays around with things. It's fine. It gives everyone an entry level kind of thing. This movie doesn't do that. It can't even get its thing accurate. It's like, hey, I've been an emperor for all this time. Now I want you to make this a fucking republic and more of a democracy and things like that. What? This is definitely a year 2000 movie. Like, this isn't Roman sensibilities. What is this? And people are referring to Marcus Aurelius as Your Highness. They're speaking of some people as royals and things like that. They didn't really use words like that. Kings were an anathema to the Romans. So, I don't know, there's just things that just take me out of the story. Besides all the characters being really two-dimensional and pretty much, like, unmemorable, except for maybe Proximo, played by Oliver Reed, who's absolutely fucking awesome and steals the show. And then, Derek Jacobi as Gracchus, who always manages, like, see, this is how good Derek Jacobi is. Gracchus stands out, even though he's not given much screen time or much depth, because Derek Jacobi's amazing. If you ever see him in Doctor Who, he plays a character. He's revealed to be like the Master, one of the Doctor's arch enemies, and he gets to play the Master for like 5 minutes of screen time. And that 5 minutes of screen time might be some of the greatest Master stuff in all of Doctor Who, bar none. He did that shit in 5 minutes, so that's the guy you got. And then, like, all right, wow, you've done well with your older actors. Joaquin Phoenix is fine, but he seems to be playing a caricature as well. No one really interesting, an emperor without depth. And I know Commodus was kind of vain and all this kind of stuff, but he had a bit more depth to him. Like, I don't know. So it's historically inaccurate, which really has obviously fucking bugged the shit out of me. Plus, it's 2.5 hours long. There's not as much gladiatorial stuff as you think there would be. And the movie is quite boring. Yeah. So it confuses me in hindsight how this movie won 5 Oscars. Because this movie, Gladiator, feels like it was directed by a man who's watched Rome movies set in Rome, but he's never read a book about Rome, or it's 2000, so he's never fucking taken a cursory glance at an encyclopedia and gone, Commodus, Marcus Aurelius, a few tweaks and there might have been something a bit more I could latch onto in terms of the story that might have carried me through for the lack of, like, three-dimensional characters. So yes, this movie doesn't hold up, and as I'm watching it, I'm like a lot less excited for the sequel. Man. And that sucks. Because are we going to get the same director who directed Gladiator? Or are we going to get someone who's got a bit more eye for detail and a bit more passionate about what he's making instead of just like churning a movie out or something like that? Because, what score I give this movie fucking echoes in eternity and gets like 5 views. There. That's what I'm giving it. 3 out of X. 3 out of 10, yeah. Doesn't hold up anywhere near as well as you think it does. There's not as much action as you think there is. There's not as much story as you think there is. And there isn't as much depth as you think it is. This holds up about as well as like an old Fast and Furious movie, except, they never won Oscars. Fucking 5. Oh my god. Just one final thing that I really liked, though, is hey, the Spaniard, Gladiator, and all his gladiator buddies, they're about to reenact the Battle of Carthage. And Rome's just destroyed Carthage like a few hundred years ago. They're wiped. They're destroyed. They're off the face of the map, right? So they're going to reenact it with Russell Crowe and everyone actually the Carthaginians. And then they go ahead and beat the Romans. And I just found that fucking hilarious, and even commenters make to comment about it and having a good old chuckle. So there's some really cool things. There's things to like here. I guess it looks pretty nice and stuff like that, but yeah, there's a lot of things in this movie that took me out of the story and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't, if you're interested in watching Gladiator 2, don't worry about watching this one. Because if you remember loving that first movie, keep that. Keep that. Keep that. And then go watch the second one. Fuck. Yeah, this movie sucks.